Hello there, and welcome to Sesame Street, a data story. You see, when researchers from the University of Massachusetts studied what kids were truly paying attention to when they were watching Sesame Street, they realized that the attention and the attentiveness of those kids is caught, held, and developed through connections. In other words, it was not the bright colors. It was not those quick movements. It wasn't even those catchy songs. Now, those were all amazing vehicles for the enjoyment levels of the kids, but what truly mattered as far as their attention and interest goes was the story, and those kids actually being able to make sense of it all. So even with all that eye candy and even with all that ear candy, when components of the narrative were actually moved out of order just a little bit by those researchers, those kids lost interest. When the kids couldn't make sense of it, they simply stopped watching. Those kids didn't feel connected, so they just got up and left the room. Pretty cool. Anyway, so this connection is actually the foundation of adult learning theory and the entire way that our adult brains operate. But not just that. This connection is precisely the way that you can differentiate yourself from everybody else in the world who's talking about data today. See, your prospects and your clients, and literally everybody in the world of advertising and marketing, they all know data is out there. They all know that there is a ton of data, not just here on Sesame Street, but everywhere else in the world. Problem is, if they don't see a connection, if they don't see the narrative, and you don't provide them a story of how all that data can actually help them and help them with the goals of their business, then they're going to lose interest. They're going to walk away just like those kids walked away from this street when they turned off the TV. And that is why we need not just data, you need your data story. Now, before your data story can be told, it must first be aligned with your prospect's data story. And here's how. You see, all of your prospects, all of your clients, and in fact, every company in every industry in the world today is data driven. But what does that mean? Well, it simply means that companies make strategic decisions based on data. They analyze the information and they interpret it. Then they make business decisions based on what they find. So the data shows that kids watch Sesame Street in the morning and kids like milk with their cereal. So more milk ads during Sesame Street. Now, the question is, why? Why be data driven? Well, because the goal of any business is to connect to and serve as many customers as possible for their particular business. And this just rarely happens by accident. And I know it seems so much more complicated today, but it doesn't have to be. It really could be as simple as it's always been. It's just a matter of how you present that data story. So think of it this way. Imagine you're a dairy farmer long ago and there's a village nearby. Now, if you wanted to sell as much milk as possible, you might go door to door and survey the villagers. You would simply ask them about milk, like when they drink milk, how, why, and how much milk they drink. And if you found that most villagers, they want fresh milk and they drink all of their milk at breakfast, well then, you might decide to do some milk selling first thing in the morning. You collected the data, you analyzed it, and you made a strategic decision based on that data. You were data driven. It was pretty simple, right? Well, here's where it got a bit more complicated and where your prospects might get a little frustrated. Imagine somebody else did that milk survey for you. So they brought you a ton of amazing data, such as brown-haired people drank 18% more milk than blonde-haired people. Kids drank twice as much milk as adults. Everybody drank milk with their cereal. And people waste on average 0.2 liters of milk each day because they pour out what's left after they eat their cereal. So this data showed you all the numbers, all the trends, all the habits, and maybe even their airtight predictions based on all this information. But there's one thing that they did not show you, They didn't show you how all that data can help you connect to your customers. And without that connection, you will justifiably lose interest, just like the kids leaving Sesame Street. So the story really has to be about connections. How can you speak to the data to help businesses connect to their customers? How can you make the complicated simple again? And that is your data story to tell.
So yeah, of course, this 1 in 3 was intended to just be an introduction and to encourage you to start thinking about and crafting your data story. And hopefully that'll help you maximize your success and enable you to sell as much milk as possible. Or if you're a vegan like me, I guess you can't call it milk, so as much almond juice as possible. Ugh. Anyway, happy crafting.